The skill sets you had 10 years ago may come in be very valuable today. And I'll give you an example. I started my career as a film editor on an 8-plate Steenbeck before there was digitization, cutting film and editing it together for sports networks. Today, I still keep my chops on Premiere Pro. I cut social media each weekend just to keep my editing skills current with digital technology. And I do it because that's how you support your businesses. I mean, I'm fortunate. I have millions of followers all around the world, and I need to talk to them. So whatever comes to my mind, I get up early on Saturday morning, and I go into the studio, and I cut something, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I put it out there, and I let my audience decide if they like it or don't. I did that this morning because it's Thanksgiving right now in America. It's at the very beginning, big deal, start of the holiday. There is. I had done with my partners a hostile transaction in the consumer software industry, and we were successful in our ability to raise capital. And so we raised $500 million of debt to do a hostile on a company called Broderbund. And we bought them. And then we fired all the management. And then we just kept the developers, and we continued to grow. Then the markets changed, which happens. And so we had $500 million of debt we had to pay back 36 months later. And as that balloon payment approached, we were technically going to be bankrupt. And those were very dark days. But I remember someone telling me, look, you have to stay focused on the challenge. You can't let noise get in the way. And somehow, some way, you'll solve the problem. That's exactly what occurred. We were very fortunate. We found a white knight. We were able to work with a much larger company. It was just serendipitous that had happened. But what I learned from it is you can't be terrorized into paralysis. No matter how adverse it gets in life, you can't paralyze yourself from it. You've got to keep thinking about what's the path out of this. It's like a maze. You're solving problems every day, both large and small, in your personal life and your business life and your romance and your marriage and everything else. You got to keep moving forward. That's the mystery and the journey and the joy of life. And it's not the same, obviously. Relationships just change. That's the nature of it. And then one day you might be tempted and you might cheat. All right, this is a lesson for business too. When you wake up in the morning after cheating, you have a decision to make. Am I going to keep this quiet and lie about it, or am I going to tell the truth? And in a crazy way, you're better to go home and tell your significant other, I just cheated on you, and I really regret it.
I do.
And because that way you won't get caught in a lie later. You will get caught. It's just a matter of time. It will come out one day. It's going to happen to you. It always does. But because you were truthful, you may find that you don't, because when you lie and you get caught in a lie in business or in marriage or in romance, you lose 50% of the equity of that relationship and you never get it back because your significant other can't trust you because you're a liar. And in business, it's the same thing. When you get caught in a lie with a partner, they'll never trust you again. So is it better just to come out with the truth? I argue it is. Right. In business, telling the truth actually builds equity in relationships. Maybe it's a tough moment, but they respect you for telling the truth, and that is the bedrock upon which you build a better relationship. But he convinced me that Tesla wasn't a car company. It was a data company, and I should buy some. So I bought 5% weighting in my portfolio, and it kept going up. So every month I'd have to sell it back down to 5%. Now, during this time, it increased in value geometrically, but I kept having to sell it according to my rule to keep it at 5. And basically, my cost base is now 0 in Tesla. I've made a lot of money on Tesla. I've sold a lot of my stock. However, Tesla rolled over and lost 50% of its value in recent times. But it doesn't matter to me because I've already made a lot off it, keeping the rules of diversification. So the lesson is diversity. You know, recently we had a catastrophe in FTX, a very famous crypto story. I was an investor in that, but it was a part of my portfolio, not all of it. So I'm able to take that hit and move on. Yeah. My whole point is learn the concept of diversification. Diversification is everything in investing. That's my lesson.
Sam from FTX is living his best life in the Bahamas.
Well, I know Sam. I actually spoke to Sam the Thursday before the catastrophe on the weekend. And I was, I have to completely be transparent here. I was an investor and a paid spokesperson for the company, along with Tom Brady and lots of other people, for a treasury bill with a duration of less than 12 months. And it's audited every 30 days. So there's a proof of asset. Now, let's say I'm sitting in New York City and I want to buy a home in Abu Dhabi. Let's just for rounding, let's say it's $1 million pied-à-terre condominium. Mm-hmm. Right now, in order for me to do that, I have to wire $1 million to a fiduciary here or a bank here and convert it into local currency, which is going to cost me a lot. It's also going to take up to 3 days to transfer it. And very often, and this happens to me all the time, the banking system loses the money for 36 hours.
Yeah, that's so true.
It's true. Now, that's incredibly inefficient and expensive and actually stupid when I could use if the seller was willing to take, let's say, a U.S. stablecoin, mm-hmm. and he gave me or she gave me their wallet, I would transfer that in less than 1 second. At a fraction of the cost. The transaction would be done. It would be fully auditable, fully transparent, very productive. Both governments that approved this currency or this stable coin, let's say the ADGM gave a license for it here in the UAE, and the Treasury Department, the same in the US, or the regulator over there. And I spent a fair amount of my time conversing with collectors all around the world about specific brands and hearing their opinions. It's the same in investing. That knowledge, the experience of others that they're willing to give you the collective thinking of the community that helps you make a decision. So if you're interested in guitars or painting or photography, these are some of the things I pursue. Mm-hmm. I'm very interested in learning from others in that community. And that's the wonderful thing about social media today. You can talk to anybody all around the world, get their opinion, and collectively make a decision based on all that collective knowledge. That's the way I manifest everything I do now and my pursuits. I want to hear from others because I know I'm imperfect.
3 books you would recommend for success?
Well, this is, talking my own book. I wrote one, and it took me a long time to do, called Men, Women, and Money, which I think is really the essence of life. I mean, you think about how there's an intersection of family and wealth and children and your marriage and your partner and all this stuff. The pillar in all of that is money. Yeah. People think, marriages fall apart because of infidelity. That's so not true. That's not why marriages fall apart. 50% of marriages fall apart all around the world because of the stress of money. And the most important thing to do at any stage of your life, you don't need a computer, you don't need a spreadsheet, you don't have anything fancy, you don't need anything fancy to do this, is to actually include all sources of income, including tips, side hustles, whatever, whoever you are, and figure out, are you burning money or not? And this is something my mother taught me. She was so wise at this. And you find out the majority of the time, most of the time, people are actually slowly grinding into debt. And it manifests itself mostly on credit cards where they're paying 21% interest. It's impossible to dig yourself out of that hole. Mm-hmm. That's why I invest in credit card companies. If you're stupid enough to pay me 21%, I deserve that money. So the point is, here's the way to do it. And this is a lesson that my mom taught me. It's such a great lesson. She said, look at your closet. You buy stuff all the time and you still wear those 2 pair of jeans you like the best, or the 4 T-shirts that you wear the most of the time. You got 30 other ones, or your baseball cap. You got 200 of those and you wear 2. She's right. So what she used to do is say, all right, I like Chanel. That's what I like. I'm going to save up all year and buy just 2 Chanel jackets. And she liked Audrey Hepburn. She always used to copy that look. She'd spend 6 months saving for her job to buy just 1 Chanel